Good and warm welcome to the students who are going to listen about the topic cell division and cell cycle. So what's a cell division? Cell division is nothing but the pre and old aged cells makes to the division for the arrangement of new cells from the help of these pre-existing cells. That is known as cell division. Simply we can say that the new cells are arised from the pre-existing and old cells for the proper and improvement in the function of the cell living organism. So we can say that the old cells are termed as parent cells. So this parent cell undergoes some divisional process such as replication, through which the exact copy of this parent cell produces new two daughter cells. So the parent cells always divides into the daughter cells by the way of the process, cell divisional process such as replication, transcription and translation. In this chapter we are going to see what is replication and what is cell cycle, what are the phases which are going to be crossed through this replication process and what is the necessary of it. Shall we? Okay. So what is the significance? Significance, in the other words, we can term that importance. What is the importance of this cell division? It always necessary for the growth of the body. So we can say an example, as a human being, when we are in the younger age, our necessity and also the requirement is very less when we compare to the age-old person. The same way, as the organisms grow stage by stage, the organs or organelles which are necessary for its function also develops in the step-by-step process. That is known as the growth of the body, that is done by the process called cell division. The second thing is replacement of damaged cells. So when we go through our life cycle, there may be wear and tear of the organs or the structure of the particular organism. That can also be replaced with the help of the cell division. The third most significance is reproduction. Every living organism which is existing in the environment has to replicate its progeny for its development and also for the evaluation. So the main convention of this cell division is the reproduction process, that is the parental haploid cells undergoes a process for the division and produce diploid daughter cells. So this detailed process through which this reproductions and everything taking place will be coming in the forthcoming slides. The last one of this is the repair of these tissues. So what is repair? Replacement of damaged cells is nothing but it happens when an injury or a counterpart is occurring. But what happens when the repair of the tissues? When a living organism is passing through its life cycle, there may be necessity for its change of its own constituents which are present previous by the birth, and that is also possible with the help of this cell division process, and we are going to see one by one what are the process and how it is necessary. So it is, the first one is the growth of the body. So what is the growth of the body? That is very much basic activity or basic necessity of the living organism. So when and then they grow, the necessity and also the requirement increases with their aging process. So the growth of the body is always directly related to the cell division. So we can take the example as unicellular and multicellular. So this growth of the body always differs with this unicellular and multicellular. So what is a unicellular? Unicellular is always single cell. So multicellular, we could take more than one cell or many cell. Simply we can take more than one celled organisms. So how it gets differ? The unicellular organism always produce its exact copy of the parental organism. Whereas in the growth of the body, in the multicellular organism undergoes a process of differentiation, division to reach its final destination of the requirement through the process called cell division. And this is the main thing about growth of the body. The second one is the replacement of the damaged cells. So how they are getting damaged? If we take this chalk piece, it has its own lifespan. When we use this, it is totally worn out. The same way, the cells which are present in the living organisms also has its own lifespan. Once it gets over, the body by itself regenerates its, depending upon the requirement. It doesn't wait for the action or the command to be generated by the living organism. It by itself, the cell by itself regenerates. For example, RBC. So what is that? Is red blood corpuscles. What happens when the red blood corpuscles reach 120 days? We can say that the lifespan of this red blood corpuscles, for example, is 120 days. So once the 120 days is over, it will directly go to the spleen and destroy by itself and comes to the bone marrow of the living organism and comes out in a new way. And that is done by the process called cell division. I think you are very clear with this. Understand? Then we'll go for the next one. Reproduction. What is reproduction? I had mentioned earlier that it is the producing the exact copy of the progeny from the parent. So what happens? In this unicellular, the single cell, normally we can say this, the single cell divides to the daughter cell. So what happened? This is the mother cell. It undergoes the process of division and two daughter cells are produced. The same way, what happens in the multicellular? Multicellular is always an organism with its complex structure. Why? Because it needs sexual and asexual reproduction for the production of progeny. So what happens in the sexual reproduction? In multicellular, the sexual reproduction, it produces diploid cells from the, or diploid progeny. Progeny means children's. The diploid progeny from the haploid parents. In what is meant by asexual reproduction? This mainly happens, for example, we can take human being. Next is asexual reproduction. So what is asexual? Asexual, it is the vegetative reproduction or the vegetative reproduction of the particular plants to develop its progeny. So what happens? Through vegetative reproduction, it produces its progeny. Example, we can take the sugarcane. So understood very clearly? So these are the reproductive process that happens with the help of the cell division. That is, the unicellular easily divides and produces its progeny, whereas when we take multicellular, there are two types of reproduction through which the cell division occurs for the production of progeny. One is sexual, that is from the haploid parents. Haploid means, so you have to be very clear with 2 points. What is haploid and what is diploid? With this we are going to deal with many slides in this portion. Haploid is nothing but when the parent is produced by itself. It doesn't change its nature like producing, going for replication or division or nothing. That is called haploid. So always the parents are haploid. The progeny which is being produced from the haploid is always diploid. Diploid in the sense it have already been undergone cell division and everything for its new generation. So that is diploid. So in the sexual reproduction, the haploid progeny without any modification produce the exact copy of the siblings. That is diploid progeny. For example, we can take human being. So human being starts its life in the mother womb as a single cell. After it goes through many cell division, blastocyst stage, that is 8 cell stage, then 16 cell stage, blastomere, and finally it develops, within 10 months it develops into a full human being. That is, we can finally take the example of sexual reproduction. And asexual reproduction is nothing but vegetative reproduction.